Happy Sunday night from Denver, Colorado, where we're about to get buried with snow again. It started just a few minutes ago. It's my favorite time of week. Hopefully it's your favorite time too. Ask Way with Coach MK. We got a lot of really cool questions and a lot of wins that I cannot wait to count up, plus brand new pictures of baby Brighton. Aaron Harkness gave birth to you about almost a month ago now, and boy, he's gotten big. So before we get into it, though, I want to take a minute to express my heartfelt sympathy to the AAPI community. It stands for Asian American and Pacific Islander, for the tragedy that happened this past week. I've said it before. I'll continue to say it until all of us are safe. None of us are safe. And what happened was the way we have talked about it has been pretty complicated and pretty disgusting. So my 2 cents on it are this: the most vulnerable amongst us right now, in this moment, it might be the first time any of us have thought to take a look at sex workers. So sex workers are all over the place in the news, at least here, in the wake of the shooting. I have no idea, because I haven't looked it up, if any of the people who were shot in those particular parlors were sex workers. But I do know that in a capitalist society, we value the time, or if you happen to be AAPI, maybe a questionable immigration status, perhaps not speaking the language well enough to have certain levels of education, then you know what, maybe your people who fetishize you might value your time a little bit more highly than, say, a corporation paying hourly rates. So the most vulnerable people right now, I would argue, if you've never paid attention before, now's not a terrible time. Take a look at your local harm reduction center. Take a look at your local AAPI support networks, specifically mutual aid. I'm going to put the notes of some of the organizations that I'm supporting in the wake of this, the ones that I've been working with directly and will continue to do so. Some of them are national, some of them are not, again, because a lot of people, sex work is not overtly legal, but criminalizing it doesn't help the people. It doesn't make it go away, and it doesn't help the people who are participating in this to put food on the table, who otherwise might not qualify for it. So that is to say, I know sex work is real work, and I've never talked about sex workers as much as I have this past week in the wake of the tragic shooting in Atlanta. So my heart goes out to any member of the community who's been impacted by this. If you or someone you know who happens to be a runner would like to get on our platform and talk about it, or maybe write a piece for the blog about it, that would be super cool. There are all kinds of things that women face that men are only just becoming aware of in the wake of Me Too. And this might be the first time that we've talked about yellow fever and what that horrible loaded phrase that had been normalized for so long, the implications it might actually have for females who run. I know that as a sexual assault victim, I've talked a lot about the things that I do to keep myself safe in my brain. And that, by the way, is a checklist of things that I feel like I need to do so that if something were to happen to me, people would take it seriously. They wouldn't say, well, you should have, or you clearly should not have been, make it about me instead of about what happened to me. And I'm sure that list is longer for AAPI persons, and I'm sure that it's even more difficult for AAPI people who speak with an accent, or who have questionable immigration status and don't feel like they're able to call the police for help. So again, without trying to bring this down too much, I feel like we have to acknowledge what happened. I want to acknowledge that it sucks, and that if you feel like you're not seen right now or heard, I do see you, and I would like to lift you up in any way I can, any way I possibly can. So there's that. I'll put the names of the organizations in the links a little bit later. So here we go. Now that I'm not, let's talk about anything other than sex work for a little while. If you want to hear more of that, though, let me know. Just look at my personal Facebook page. It's been moving those comments around all week long. So let's start off with the weekly wins. And I tell you what, if you have been in the Rebuild group and seen Christian Fraser's Lamb photos than you are, in fact, winning at life, because they're really super cool. Lambing season is a thing. She's in the thick of it right now, and here's one of her wins. I'm moving gently back into movement, and I'm following the Do What Feels Right plan this week. There's been a lot of deep, intense work in therapy, and my peak allergy season is leaving me with a lot of fatigue. Ugh. So instead of running, I'm doing a lot of silly dance breaks when the mood takes me, and I'm just trying to stay upright as much as possible. Still a win. I'd say it's a win. And you know what? If you get to cuddle those lambs, it's probably some of the best therapy there is. Nothing. I never say that running is my therapy. Therapy is my therapy. Running is some of my sanity maintenance in between therapy sessions. It's a critical part of my mental health strategy. But I got to say, if I had lambs, that would be part of my mental health strategy too. So I'm telling you, we need to have a lamb yoga session with you, I think, Christian. I think that really needs to happen. Maybe we should make that happen. Manda Blockinger Bailey got up from my early morning run happily. Yesterday, I was annoyed with the choice I made not to run with my alarm when my alarm went off. Sunshine here today, which makes for happier kids who can play outside. And preschooler returns to school tomorrow after 2 weeks of his classroom being closed for COVID cases. I know I was struggling when HRH, the baby Violet, was out for a while. Oh my gosh, I'm getting responses. Yes to lamb yoga. Yeah, I know lamb yoga's got to happen. Burn therapy. Oh, you delivered your first lamb. I'm guessing this is Kristen. That's amazing. If you put a photo of that up, I totally missed it. But that's so cool. That is so cool. And yes, lamb yoga. We need to figure out how to make that happen. I'm gonna reach out to Nakia and Chrissy and see what we can do there. That'd be fun. Sarah Seberg says, I met my BRF and new addition to our early morning Saturday crew in my neighborhood for a change, and we did a lovely 6-mile loop. We met at a park about a mile from my house, so I ran there and ran home for a total of 8 miles. Whoa! That's longer than any run I've done lately. Haven't run that much in a long time and felt good. That is amazing, Sarah. And we're glad that felt good, and we're going to feel good with you. And we're going to feel better when we see lamb photos. Oh my God, lamb photos. If you have not been in Rebuild lately, go take a look in Rebuild right now and see the lamb photos from Christian Fraser. They're absolutely amazing. So Brenda Haskell ran 70 minutes with a friend on the rail trail near her house. I wasn't watching my heart rate at all. Broke all of Coach MK's rules. It's fine. Was great to run with her, but I need to rein in the pace next time. Don't worry about it. You ran with your friend and you had fun, right? We are not in a training cycle right now. If we were in a training cycle, I'd have to be like, well, we can't do all the things we want to do and all the things that we need to do and get what we want on race day. That's a complicated conversation. But right now, we just got to survive this period of global pandemic and general chronic stress. And if running with a friend does that for you, go with God. I know that today I went out for what I hoped would be a run. And about 3 miles in, I'd been walking. I just wasn't having any of it. With the two weather fronts, the cold weather and the warm weather, it was 69 degrees yesterday. It was really warm. With those two friends meeting each other, it was a whole lot of pollen was being kicked out into the air. So when I went out for my run this morning, my allergies were all over the place. My nose was running. I kept blowing it. And every time you blow your nose, your heart rate shoots up. So I was like running and walking, and my heart rate would come right back down very quickly into the 120s. And then as soon as I started jogging again, it was like back up at 150. So unable to find a pace that didn't make me want to scream, I just said, you know what? This is too stressful. I'm done. I'm going to walk it. And I did. And I walked 3 more miles and had a really great time. Still did not come to a total of 8. But I tell you all that to tell you this. Have fun with a friend and don't feel guilty. That's what it's all about. All I'm here to do is tell you that I love you. And that's basically it. In between, I can give the best advice possible. I can help temper any expectations. Like we're probably not going to be having anything normal after 4th of July. We're probably not going to have a fall racing season, but there might be small races near wherever you are. Just recorded a podcast about that with the doctors and with Coach Nakia, who happens to be a race director for Richmond Roadrunners, which is one of the largest Roadrunner RRCA certified clubs in the country. And she gave us her outlook for the fall. Hint, hint, it's not good and it's very small. So with that in mind, if you are dead set on a big fall race, be mentally prepared for the highly likely, statistically probability that it's going to go virtual. but they can't declare that and get the insurance payout until certain conditions are met, and that won't happen until the last minute. So there's that. So a lot can happen between now and then. And like, this is like all a best case scenario. And I think we've learned anything over the past year is that we can't trust the best case scenario, enough people to participate in whatever's mandated for the best case scenario to actually occur. So, just don't get our hopes up too high. Be ready to be excited. If you're braced for the worst, then we can enjoy the best. But if we go in demanding the best and anything less than that happens, which is what usually happens on race day, you're going to be crushed. And I just don't want any more heartbreak or disappointment for people this year, because we are exactly 1 year out from Tiger King. Tiger King. I know, right? A year ago, we were talking about and watching Tiger King. And right now, there's nothing quite as good as Tiger King to save us. But I tell you this, if you need just a little bit of niceness, and you want to support the AAPI community, I have been looking for more niceness in the wake of Ted Lasso, which I love. I've watched that now 6 or 7 times. I just can't get enough of it. It's such a nice, without being cheesy or Daniel Tiger-esque. Daniel Tiger gets on my damn nerves, y'all. I can't lie. But the shows that try to be nice usually get on our nerves because no one behaves that way in real life. And Ted Lasso is a fictional character that you somehow wish you knew. It's the best way I can describe him. Anyway, I've been looking for something to go off the back of that because I was like, well, I want more of this. And I did not make, and so there was one character, if you've seen the show, the blonde woman, Rebecca. I'm like, oh, okay, Rebecca, what else has she been in that I haven't seen? Game of Thrones. Yeah, that didn't make me feel as good as Ted Lasso did. We binged that too, but it came out in a much dark place, I gotta say. So I'm like, no, I need something that's actually going to replace Ted Lasso for me and fill the hole that Game of Thrones left in my soul. And that show, I watched it this week, Terrace House. If you have Netflix, Terrace House is a Japanese show where they take 6 strangers. All of this is filmed in Japan. There are several spinoffs and several seasons of it. So I'm already 24 hours in and I haven't seen all of them yet. But they take 6 people and put them in one place and under one roof, kind of like the real world. But instead of people getting rough and getting real, these people try to solve problems and try to work through things. And that sounds boring, but it actually isn't. It's kind of amazing that I found myself holding my breath so many times, like, oh no, this is going to be bad. And it was actually quite touching. And that happened over and over and over through every episode. So there you go. If you need something nice and you can't get some lambs to do lamb yoga, then go to Netflix and try Terrace House. I tell you that, don't even try to watch it on the treadmill. Just sit down with a box of tissues and get ready to go. Even my husband liked it. I'll say that. My husband likes it. If Mr. MK likes it, that's saying something, because Mr. MK is more likely to like something like this than I am. So there it is. Break all the rules. Rules are meant to be broken, except in Terrace House. Daniel failed, and I started a Whole30 on the 19th of February. Just like with the running, got to listen to the body. I decided to break last night and had a martini and some potato gnocchi. It was good. Still managed to get out and do the prescribed run today. Kept it in check the whole way and was very happy. And he got his vaccine earlier this week. Congratulations, Daniel. If more people do like you do, then maybe, just maybe, it probably won't happen though. Life might return normal-ish come July 4th, but I doubt it. So be like Daniel, get the vaccine if it's available to you. Kathleen Harden. I ran long yesterday because I knew I would not be 100% after going out to dinner and a few breweries for my birthday last night. Yay, you! My plan for today was 3.5 miles to celebrate my 35th birthday. Halfway through, I had to call my husband to get me so I didn't pee myself. Then did some bad runner math about how much further I had to run. I ended with 4 miles, and I'm happy with it. I love you. I love you, and I'm proud of you, because let me tell you about a woman I once knew who got pregnant. I think it might have been her second out of 4 pregnancies, and she was near Denver, and she was running on the Highline Canal and really needed to pee because she misunderstood how long the Highline Canal actually is here in Denver, and might have ended up peeing in the backyard of a couple of rich people who have long-range security cameras that extend all the way down their driveway that's half a mile long to the canal, and might or might not have had to be escorted off of the Highline Canal by police officers taking her to the nearest porta potty. So yeah, I'm not the mystery pooper that was in Colorado Springs. All I did was pee. So if you were able to finish 4 miles without being escorted off where you are by the police, you're winning at life, and I love you for it. Karina Halteri, I'm still taking a break from running to let my heel rest. It's feeling better every day, and I'm doing the exercises that Coach MK gave me. Hopefully I'm doing them correctly. If ever you want to check that, let me know. Reach out, tap me. I will FaceTime with you, and we'll go through it together. At the end of this, though, I'm gonna get on the floor, and I'm gonna show you the moves that I showed Karina, so that because I know at least someone else that I've spoken to in the past 24 hours mentioned that they as well were having some PF flare-ups starting to rear its head, and I would like to talk you kind of through these moves as quickly as possible. So let's nip all that in the bud before it goes somewhere. I'm also walking Oliver to keep busy and active, but I miss running. I know that feeling. We miss it too. I miss it for you, but hopefully we can do, again, at the end of this, someone who's watching, I see I've got at least 3 of you now, remind me at the end of this so I don't forget to come back around to it to demonstrate the plantar fasciitis abatement moves. Trisha Thorne, I wanted to go long, but I wasn't sure I was up for 95 minutes. I think 93 and a half is pretty darn close. Shoot, yeah, round right up. That's where I would round it to, 95. I had some fun cooking adventures in the afternoon and have good books lined up for tomorrow. Which books? Y'all got to share. Which books? I'm excited. Inquiring minds want to know, especially if my kids get sick again like they were last week and I spend more time in bed next to them, snuggling people than I intend to. I could use a good book to go with it because I'm through everything in my reading list. Never thought that would happen, but we've had a lot of sickness over this past winter. Coach Nakia happily took a rest day after getting her first COVID vaccine dose. Yay, Coach Nakia. That's awesome. Okay, now we've got some questions. In Rebuild, Christian Fraser wants to know, I'm moving gently back into movement and I'm following the Do What Feels Right plan this week. Whoops. I am... Nope. Looking at the wrong thing. Sorry. All right. We have no questions in Rebuild. I apologize. Ignore everything I just said. Starting over. Maintain. I'm currently sidelined with some right lateral knee pain. All symptoms point to IT band syndrome. Not exactly sure if there was one specific thing that got me to this point, but now I'm here and need to work on fixing this. So, question part 1. Are there any specific strength moves or stretching that I should work on? And are there any that I should avoid? And part 2, I'm planning to do an in-person marathon in 4 weeks. Not sure at this point where to go from here. Okay, so if you guys remember, and I know it's been a while since I've been banging the drum about foam rolling, but shearing your thighs is one of the most important things you can do. So shearing the thighs, remember, if you're laying on the foam roller, then you want to turn yourself on an angle, not 90-degree angle, but a 45-degree angle, and get those muscles just on the inside to where your IT band would be. All of that needs to be loosened all the way up into the hip, and your hips do too. If you have a Theragun, even better. That's not all, though. I would hit that entire band with the Theragun top to bottom a couple of times and then foam roll on top of it. The Theragun's amazing. It is, but it's not a perfect replacement for foam rolling. So get in there first to loosen up the muscle and then foam roll it too. I would spend more time shearing and digging into my hips than I would just about anything else, because when those muscles are tight, that's what's going to be pulling on your knee. Finally, another thing that could be contributing to it, and I know everybody loves hearing more about their glutes, but it is your glutes. I would spend a lot of time trying to do like the pigeon pose and deeper piriformis stretches. That's going to go a long way. The good news is on the outside of the knee is usually IT band related, and it's easily fixable. So there's that. If you were telling me that you had knee pain on the inside, I'd be like, whoa. And I know who asked this question because I think you've already seen a physical therapist about it. So, but you need to see a physical. Whenever you have any kind of pain in or around your knee or major joint, I do want you absolutely seeing a PT, preferably with the OCS certification, who is also licensed for dry needling and manual therapy. That's always going to be your best bet. But the question really becomes when to worry. When it's on the inside of your knee, worry. When it's on the outside of your knee, be cautious. When it's on the top of your knee, stretch your quad, and it'll go away. So that's sort of how you think about knee pain, because anything that's right behind the kneecap, again, is probably equally IT band related, which means it's fixable. So the stretching that I would avoid, funny enough, is the IT band stretch, because if that area is already tight, stretching it is not going to make it less tight. We need to really work on mobilizing and softening the muscle rather than stretching it, because it's already pulling pretty hard on a tendon that's causing the pain. So let's get them there and work it out with deep tissue work, and then think about stretching. So I would pretty much avoid all stretches that would target your, maybe if a quad stretch hurts, I would try a couch stretch. And that and the couch stretches, if you Google that, the couch stretches by Kelly Starrett from Mobility WOD. If the couch stretch doesn't work or the pigeon pose doesn't work, then just stop with the stretches for a while and stick to foam rolling and mobilizing. There's a reason I don't assign stretches, and this is it. You can do more harm than good. I'm not saying yoga is evil. I'm saying if you're in our tendency would be, that's our gut. It's like, oh, my IT band hurts, let's stretch it. And I'm like, that's not what you need to do when your IT band hurts. You need to mobilize it. And then stretching comes later to prevent it from getting that sticky again, to try to stretch it after it's already sticking to the point that you've got knee pain. All you're going to do is exacerbate the knee pain, and we really need to minimize that. So that's why I don't really assign stretches. The odds of a person in pain hurting themselves more with foam rolling are next to nil. The odds of you hurting yourself more with the stretch are pretty high. So you can't go wrong with foam rolling. So I say do all of that. Now for the part two of it, planning to do the in-person marathon. Reach out to me and let's just maintain radio contact over it. You can't do the marathon at all if you're still having the knee pain, one. But if you don't do this marathon, doesn't mean you can't do other things you want to do this summer. I believe we talked about an ultra distance and a few other things. So everything is on the table until an injury takes it off. Not running the marathon, and I'm not saying I think that's a possibility. Just go ahead and let that go. If we get to run it, yay. But if we don't, it's not the worst thing in the world. Let's let your knee and the pain there dictate what you do on a day-to-day basis before we really decide. So stick to the plan where you can't. The speed work at this point, it could do more harm than good. I'd say don't worry about it. Just avoid it. If you really want to add in some pickups and they don't hurt, pick it up to marathon, what you kind of expect your marathon pace to be, no faster, and then back right off. That would really be the best bet. But don't hesitate to. That's why you have a coach. That's why you're paying me. I will gladly answer those questions, especially in a period like this. Text me as much as you want to. Text me every time you have a question. I appreciate you still putting questions in here so we can have a bigger, more robust conversation with everyone. But still, yeah, you can reach out to me directly too. I'm here for all of that. So sometimes when I get back to my car after running in the state park, there's something like an electrical smell in the car. Should I be worried or feel differently? So if the electrical smell is coming from the car, I don't know. If you're talking about fueling the car, I don't know. Fueling you, that is a great question. I have no idea. Honestly, I really wouldn't be worried about it. The thing about running out in nature, and I'm not sure where this question is coming from or who would have asked it, what part of the country you're in, but I know that if you were where I'm from in the part of Middle Tennessee, the air and the water are highly sulfurous. We can tell who drinks well water because they all smell like rotten eggs. And it was horrible growing up. I live in a rural part of Tennessee, but we live like half a mile close enough that we got city water instead of the well water, which is effectively sulfur water. And if you're living that far out, you can't afford the fancy mechanisms required to convert sulfur water into harder water, and it stinks. It really is a strong smell like rotten eggs that I can't quite describe. So if you were to go running in that area, even if you weren't to take a bath in one of those wells, you're going to absorb the sulfur. And there's actually a race out there called Bear Waller Gap. It's because bears like to get in there and waller around in the sunshine. And the Bear Waller Gap which is no longer done. We don't get bears in that part of Tennessee anymore. But if you were to be in the Bear Water Gap and you were to race, and it is in a state park, if you were to race in the Bear Water Gap half marathon, which I still can't believe exists now, t-shirts must be incredible. And no, I'm not going home to run that shit. They got ticks too. Fuck ticks. But I digress. You would come out smelling like sulfur. You'd be sweating it because you're going to be inhaling so much of it in the air. My guess is that if there's some sort of a burnt electrical smell, it would be something similar where you are. I wish I looked at this question before. I could have asked my husband, who unfortunately just drove off, or Googled it. But if you Google it and see like what sort of elements might cause that smell, there's probably something in the park that you're inhaling on your runs that you would be sweating out and exhaling, and all of that's going to be like compounded when you get in the car. Again, assuming this is coming from you and not the car, because if it's coming from the car, I don't know what to tell you. But my guess is it's really nothing to worry about. And I'm going to double check this with some people I know right after this live stream, and make sure that I'm not so wrong on this that I'm missing something really obvious that could be hurting you, but I wouldn't be worried about it. Question on recovery. I do my long runs on Saturday. On Saturday night, I sweat so much in my sleep, like drenched some nights. Have you heard or experienced this? Thought perhaps it's just my body working overtime to recover. When I hear about sweating at night, I think about hormones, and I think about menopause. So I don't know if, and if this is a dude asking this, as far as I'm concerned, men go through menopause too. We just don't talk about it. Because I tell you, my husband's having to change this lately too. I love you, baby. Come on. So there's that. If it's just like an all over body sweat, my guess is that's probably hormonal. I would ask about what's happening during those long runs. If you might be overtrained. You might need a little more rest. Are you having trouble falling asleep? If in addition to sweating, if you're having trouble falling asleep, if you're having trouble staying asleep, if you find yourself waking up at the same time every night, say 2 or 3 in the morning, every single night, like regular, like clockwork, needing to go to the bathroom, that too is hormonal. And that is all of those are consistent with either overtraining or the onset of menopause. So I'm less worried about it. Instead of like working overtime to recover, I would think that it's working overtime trying to get your hormones back to where they were. So let's talk a little bit about what your running has looked like lately. Have you recently gotten a Peloton like us and found yourself doing way too much cardio, which also happened to us? And frankly, that was me 2 nights in a row. I, without thinking about it, went for a run with a friend. Sorry, I got on the Peloton and had a really great workout, and I felt good, and I wasn't going hard, so I didn't really want to stop. And I kept looking at my heart rate. It was in the 130s. I'm like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. That's like just walking up a hill. But 90 minutes of that, and then my friend Dove called and was like, let's go do things. And I'm like, yes, let's go do things and run. And we went for a run, and it ended up being 90 minutes long. So that combined with a really long bike session was 3 hours of cardio, and that was way too much. I couldn't fall asleep for love or money. I was just rubbing magnesium into my legs all night long. It was really frustrating and really miserable, and I sweated bullets all night long to boot. So I don't know if anything that I just said resonates with you at all, but that would be my guess. It's hormonal. Either this is not a new normal, but something that might be worth discussing with your doctor, or it could mean that we're overdoing it and we need to dial it back in. But hit me in the comments and tag me directly so I can't miss them, please. Let's talk a little bit more about this, because I feel like I need a little bit more information to tell you something that might be a bit more pleasant to hear. I'm so sorry. Last year, I postponed a race that now looks like it might happen in the fall. Do you have any suggestions on how to modify the workouts and maintain for me to train to race a 10K? I usually shorten the weekday runs as it is. Thanks for everything. You're welcome. Yes, if I were you, leave the weekday runs as they are, and then let's shorten the long runs. I mean, if you want to cut down the weekday runs, let's cap them at 45 minutes. We really want to get you very comfortable at the 45-minute mark. And let's shorten your longest long run to about 95 minutes, but no shorter than 75 minutes. So let's keep it between 75 and 95 for the long run. And you don't need to worry about tapering so much for a 10K. That's the great thing about a 10K. If I were you, I would just cut so the week before the race, do the Monday workout as prescribed, the Tuesday workout as prescribed, repeat the Tuesday workout on Wednesday, take Thursday, Friday off, race on Saturday. That's what I would do for a 10K. Congratulations. Yay, how exciting that you've got a race near you. Let me know how it's going. And let me know if you want to know more. But I think people kind of spin out a little too much about the specificity. Like if you just don't stop, whether or not you do 10K specific workouts or not for the race, you're going to be okay. All we do is take the worry out by keeping you going consistently in fitness protection. And then to take as many days off as you want to show up fully rested and ready to race. And you can race any distance. Well, up to the half. That's kind of what we're going for. So that's how I would approach all of this personally. But if you really want, that doesn't make you comfortable and you really want more specificity, reach out, let me know, and I'll write something up for you. Because I know how y'all think, and that's fine. In slow burn. After slow burn strength is completed, how can we maintain our newly gained strength? Yay! Well, we're going to talk about that in so we've got 8 weeks of work, and then we had that the beginning week, the bye week in the middle, and then we're going to have an extra week at the end too. That actually makes the program 11 weeks long. So that final week, we're going to talk about different options that you have to kind of keep things maintained. But we're also, and I hear Coach Nakia rolling her eyes. I'm really excited about this. We're going to modify slow burn and release it again in June, and call it sunburn. And then we're going to have a winter version that we're probably going to call freezer burn. And I'm really excited about that. Or wind burn if we let it go in the fall. I'm not sure yet. But that would be, and it's not going to be the same stuff. We're going to be taking out the VVO2 max and the specificity type of runs and subbing in something completely different. And then from there, when it comes to the strength, it's going to be more of an all body workout approach. So like Mondays will be arms and legs, and then Tuesdays will be core and back, and Wednesday is going to be chest day, and Thursday is going to be booty day, etc. So I've got it written down downstairs. We already started working on the programming, but I would do that. That'll be a great way to like not just retain the gains you've got, but build on them. Would be to do another program. And again, this is not a specific running strength program, but it is strength that will benefit your running, if that makes sense. We just want to, I know that everything in slow burn was really booty specific. And there were a couple of days when Coach Takia and I were just like, what the fuck just happened? I can't get out of bed. I need the TRX mechanisms just to be able to pull myself up because my legs aren't doing it. There was a whole day, I think I posted and maintained about this, that I felt like I had run a marathon. So I ate like I had just run a marathon. I had nachos and amaretto sours, and it was glorious and blissful. Yay. So that, yeah, rather than have that feeling of incredible soreness that just increases over the course of the month, we're going to have rotating soreness so that you're not dreading the next day's workout because it's going to be like more booty. Yeah, I'm glad that appeals to you. I also love the name. I need a lot of structure around strength too, because it's not the sort of thing I will do on my own. And I find it really frustrating. Like even with Peloton, as much as I love that app and I love the company and I love everything that we've been doing so far, their strength drives me crazy because it either assumes that I bought their specific equipment and it's really hard to do their equipment. It's not like their equipment is so special, but like their bands are not the same length as mine. So I can't do things in the flow of time the same way that I would almost anything else. Or I don't own it, or I don't want a 5, 10, 15, 20 set of dumbbells. Like I just don't. I don't want to do bicep curls. I would write I know we're going to have bicep curls in there because we have to, but there are so many other ways to get strong without doing the standard things. And I really want to kind of focus on those areas too, because nothing is more frustrating than doing like the 10-minute core workout that I programmed yesterday morning, only to find that their advanced was not advanced at all. It's what I would consider almost intermediate to be. and it was way too simple. So rather than using a fancy equipment, we can do a lot with our own body weight that is still really hard. And I'm going to be looking to do those things with Sunburn, with buying as little equipment as possible. Meanwhile, those of you who bought equipment like the Bosu ball over the years, I'm going to show you ways to integrate that too, so you get your money's worth without the mandate for others who feel like, well, if I can't afford a whole bunch of stuff, then I guess I can't do this program, because I don't want anyone to feel that way. So we're going to be trying to find ways to incorporate lots of different things and lots of different tone, and Sunburn is going to be a different kind of burn, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. So that is what I would do if you were able to stick with it. And we're going to have the same pricing structure that we did for slow burn. So thank you to everyone. This is a small woman-owned business that has been hit very hard by the coronavirus and the pandemic, and everything helps right now. So I want to find a way to keep delivering value without making it feel like a money grab to anyone. So if you can find friends to do this with you, that would be a real great time to tell them about fitness protection while we try to get ready for a marketing blitz leading into Sunburn. Slow burn question: can you demo last week's Wednesday strength moves, or let me know if there's a description of them somewhere? There were some variations from the prior Wednesday's moves that I wasn't sure what to do with. Yes, I will, and I apologize for that. I was sore after Tuesday to do Wednesday. I kind of looked at Wednesday and said, oh, F that. No, I'll go back on Thursday, which is what I've been doing up to this point, to give with the idea that giving you guys permission to do that too. There's too much pressure on people to complete 100% of the program. I don't know where this comes from. Even when I'm training people one-on-one, I never expect 100% completion. If I get 85%, I'm thrilled with that, because life happens, because overtraining happens. There are nights where you don't get enough sleep. There are all kinds of very legitimate reasons that have nothing to do with adulting or willpower, because willpower is bollocks. It's just the way we think about it seems to be really abusive. So I wanted everyone to see that, like, this is, I preach what I practice, and I don't do anything 100%. I think anyone who's like, give us 100% or go home, probably doesn't have my best interest in mind, I found over the years. So to that, I did leave out a couple days demonstrations. I will go back and do those, and I sincerely apologize if we have not rectified that already, because I know this week I was much better. There were 2 days when I was too sore to do anything, but I still made a point to get up there and demonstrate the moves for this reason. So if there's anything else that I've left out, never hesitate to let me know. And for that, I do apologize. As we go into Sunburn for the summer, I will, I'm looking at different options, either splitting up the load with another coach so that there's always a demonstration up, or doing it when I can, bare minimum, and committing to it. It's like, if I can't do this with you today, so I'm just going to demonstrate what to do and explain why I can't do it. Really want to try to avoid that. So we're looking at a couple of different options to make this work. But Coach Kia is like, she's kind of mad at me, you guys. She's kind of mad at me for the way she felt after slow burn and the day she couldn't get out of bed. So I'm not sure she's going to be down for it, but I'm hoping we can all sweet talk her into it. So if you get a chance this week, tell Coach Kia how much you love and appreciate her. And I tell all of our coaches that, because they need to hear it. They're doing this out of the love in their heart and their appreciation for this program. So if you get a chance to tell them thank you, please do so. Yay! Plantar fasciitis. Do's, don't, and how to keep it at bay. So for this, we're going to get on the floor with really awkward lighting. And I will be right back in just a second. Let me go get the tool that I need. Got two options here. So the two things that I'm about to show you, one of these tools is called the Therapist's Thumb. And I'm not saying you need to run out and buy it. It was like $6 on Amazon though. So it's not, you don't need to get the brand name. Any piece of plastic from China that looks like this will do. And that allows you to put pressure down in areas without doing a whole lot of damage to your joints, which is nice. So the two things to remember about plantar fasciitis, it's the pain is coming from here, but the pain rarely originates, or the source of the pain is usually somewhere else. And the two things that contribute the most strongly to plantar fasciitis is tightness in the soleus muscle right here, which is the little bitty muscle. It's a little kind of painful if you push your calf or brace your calf with this side and then dig in here. That shouldn't feel real good. And most of the time in runners, it actually feels kind of terrible. But that we need to loosen that up a whole lot. And it's easy to do with the therapist thumb there on the side. I would come in, obviously, if you know anything about body work, do this after you get out of the bath. That's probably the best time to do it. Just don't dig too deeply. You'll have big old bruises like I did up and down my IT bands last week. It was awful. But do have some sort of if your skin is damp, it's going to work well, or put some lotion or some massage oil on there just to get less friction, and less friction will help you get deeper into the muscle. So we want to get all the junk down in here too, but we really want to work on this muscle there. And this is going to be terrible. It just doesn't feel good, guys. That's number one. Number two is down here. All of the ligaments and the tendons that make your foot move converge right there on your foot. So the next thing you want to do, not in this position, but we want to get, so your heel ends right, find where your heel ends, then 1 inch north, mark it with the pen if you have to, but in between, in here, that is where you want to mobilize your foot. So find the space and just dig in. And you can do that with the tip of the therapist thumb or the hind end of the therapist thumb, and just either dig it in by twisting as deeply as you're comfortable with, and that's going to bruise the fat pad, but it's also going to loosen up everything underneath it. That's one option. Option two, take the end of your foam roller, and you should be able to achieve the same end. Or if you have the tiger tail lying around your house like my husband and I do. Third, you can take a wooden spoon out of the kitchen and rub the end in there and have the same effect. And then finally, we need to come up here and mobilize this area too. First, down here, you take a look at your shin. You got the lower part of the shin and then the meaty part of the shin. First, now we got a lot of nerves in here too, so I really wouldn't go digging in there with the therapist thumb, because if you hit a nerve, that's really going to hurt. I would roll that area as hard as you can feel. If you can, I know you probably can't see my toes moving, but we want this ideally to be loose enough that your toes will wiggle inadvertently while you do it, kind of like mine are right now. Then isolate this area, and this part right there is probably going to hurt the most. You really want to work that out. So I know that it can feel counterintuitive, but it's my foot that hurts. Yes, but what's happening is tightness up here is pulling it upward, and that's why your heel is hurting. So front part of the shin, loosen up the soleus, hip that right there. Those are going to be the three things you can do. There's another move called Super Friend move that I think I demonstrated a long time ago, but if you don't have a person who can help you with that, or a really hard foam roller, it's not worth it, because otherwise you're just going to sit there and do this, and nobody in their right mind would sit there and do this to loosen up their calves, except me, because my life is really sad. And that's how I feel about that. So those are your plantar fasciitis moves. Final thing to remember is that it's been a weird year. Most of us have not been paying attention to things like, the amount of mileage we're putting on our shoes because we're not training for things. If we're not training for things, then we're not as dialed in or as anxious as we might be in a normal year, which means we're not paying attention at all. The last time I started to get a little PF or shin splints, I was worried about it. I was like, oh my God, why is this happening? I haven't had this in forever. Is that how far my fitness has fallen? No, man, my shoes had almost 1,000 miles on them. No wonder my feet hurt. So that's something to think about too. How old are your shoes? Is the midsole still doing its job? If you can curl it up in a little ball, then it might be time for new shoes. If the sole is smooth, it might be time for new shoes. If all of the padding around the neck is completely worn out, it's probably time for new shoes. So still do all the mobilization that I just showed you, but don't discount how bad it is for your feet to have busted shoes on them. It's kind of like if you had faulty tires on your car, your husband might yell at you. Like, mine's done that before. Just saying, your shoes are a little bit more important than your tires. No matter what your husband says, I stand by it. You are coached. You are loved. I'm going to come back with the links in a little bit, but just know that you are winning at life, and no matter where you are loved. Good night, y'all.